around 2 years old to about 7 years old, so or say birth to 7, children are in that theta state, so they're very programmable.
Well,
so,
let's explain what the theta state is real quick.
Yeah, so it's just a low vibrating frequency in the brain. So you're actually
It's a brainwave.
It's a brainwave, yeah. And so obviously beta. Right now, me and Mike are in like a low beta probably right now. Just having a nice conversation. We're not going to have to study anything afterwards.
An active mind.
Yeah, but we're
is
not.
Beta.
Yeah. If you're worrying, you're in a high beta. If Mike was going to test me on everything we talked about today, I'd probably go into mid beta. But theta is where I start to gain information into
You're absorbing.
Yeah, you're absorbing information. So, but the thing is, not only the Jesuits know this, every advertising company in the world knows this. They're programming us, but when you're conscious, you can simply break the program. Like so, people and a lot of people talk about this now. Oh my God, we're being programmed. We've always been programmed. Everyone since the beginning of time. People do this because you were told to do this. You talk about ethics. Who taught you the ethics? So you're like, oh, yeah, this is familiar, so this must be right. All right? I'm not saying it's wrong, but you program that ethic understanding.
Exactly.
But there is something innate in every human being that goes way beyond the programming. And it's this understanding of efficiency and knowing what works. And when actually we get into the field of what we call collaboration, collective collaboration, you get wave interference, but it's actually constructive. But we get into a lot of times we're actually battling against each other stuff. We get into a wave pattern that's deconstructive. So that's where wars start, right? Mm-hmm. So once we start understanding, we become conscious, you can shift to a different wavelength. And when you do this, everyone knows this, we get these higher levels. All you want to do is give and collaborate, not compete. So that's what we're getting at right now. So we actually start to choose a different persona. And you start to understand the physics of the world. I'm not talking about the program. I'm talking about the actual physics of why this works. All of a sudden, as we start to integrate with one another, me and Mike integrate and create a show, and you guys listening in is expanding it, and other people, we keep expanding it. All of a sudden, the field starts to grow strong, and then everyone gets consumed in the field. The field is what governs us.
That is the point.
And if we start to understand this, we go even beyond the programming. Yeah, I understood why people did that, but they knew what they knew. The Jesuits were programmed to program us.
Yep.
The advertising agents were programmed to program us. I'm not here to blame. I'm not a victim anymore based off of that.
I got to mention something about your program statement because I just read this, and it was so cool. It was somebody who they worked for the BBC, that British news network.
Yeah.
So they talked about how they were, during the news cycle, they tried to introduce this type of news that became interactive. And so it gave people viewing at home the ability to interact with the news. So if something came up, like a box in the corner of the screen would say, to learn more about this subject, click here, or for more knowledge on this, or to hear the other, perspective on this, click here. It tanked so badly, and nobody wanted to be involved with learning more. People don't want to click and learn more. People want to absorb. And so what we realized, like Frank said, when we sit down to watch TV or watch a show or watch the news, we sit back in a lower brainwave state and we absorb. And so so you watch Fox News or CNN, all you're doing is absorbing that information.
You, yeah.
It's not true. Either side is not true.
Well,
what's coming? You're going to find the truth very much so more in the middle, and we all know this. And everybody you talk to what is honestly more so in the middle. But it's very funny how we act like we're learning or we're researching when in fact we are just absorbing.
Yeah.
And then regurgitating.
Yeah.
Doing the exact same thing we've done since 0 to 7 when we took in information from our parents, from our family, teachers, etc. We regurgitate, and that's why we act the way we do. It is all a program. And I just thought that was so interesting that when you sit there and watch television, this has been proven.
Yeah, and that's so a guy like Bruce Lipton doesn't watch BBC to find out about biology. He goes to a laboratory and does it. And so even me and Mike, as we learn these concepts, I don't just read about them, we actually enact them. Me and Mike are just talking about our experiences, and my experience can be different than anyone's out there. But
And it is.
Yeah, we're just featuring. But
We all live in different worlds.
So if I want to get information, I don't go, because to me the news is a third party system. I'm like, so if someone's talking about biology, I want to go to the biologists that actually discovered this, and then they'll tell me that they studied this one. And all of a sudden, I go down that thread. I want to go right to where it started. I don't want to get the third party information. Even like what me and Mike are talking about here. I'm like, by all means, you want to know about Bruce Lipton, we're just featuring him. You're not going to learn a lot about him by me and Mike talking about him. Go study the man. Go read his book. Go look at, he's got a ton of videos and stuff.
That's why we do this. We encourage that.
Yeah, we encourage it. But if you just listen to us and then run out and say, oh, I like this guy, Bruce Lipton.
This is true.
Yeah, like, no, we're barely touching on the tip of what actually Bruce
Then
Lipton.
we're CNN and Fox News.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't want you. So get out of that theta state and be conscious. No,
Yeah. Well, we have another clip. Should we do. Should we jump into that one?
Yep.
All right.
Then I'll give you this most wonderful quote. I used it the other day in a lecture from Albert Einstein. And the quote is so important. Here's the quote. The field, so a definition, the field is the invisible energy. Right now you're in a field, there's cell phone broadcasts, television, radio broadcasts, all kinds of information coming across. But guess what? Each one of you is a broadcast in that field. The quote, the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. Particle is the material realm. So what was Einstein saying? It's the energy in the field that shapes the physical experience of our lives. And if enough of us collectively have an energy that's coherent and strong, and we broadcast the belief, we change the world. I just want you to recognize, as much as I wanted peace in the world, if not enough people are out there saying, let's have peace in the world, there is no peace. If I want to say, let's have a war, how can you have a war? You have to have enough people convinced that the war is going to benefit them so that their broadcasts say, yes, let's have a war because I and my colleagues, we're all going to have a better result from that. And the reality is this. The only things that change on this planet collectively are when we collectively share thoughts. And yoga, when you're in your postures, when you're in your process, your mind is sharing a thought, not just in your head, but all around you. So the whole idea about this is we have to recognize we are collectively creating reality with our thoughts. And if we want to change reality, it can change instantly. The moment we become coherent, the moment we collectively are on the same platform of thinking. You get enough people to say peace, there will be peace instantly in this world. But we've been programmed by other people to give them the power to tell us what we need. And as Sadhviji has been telling us so importantly, what we need is not what they tell us, what we need is what we know.
Yeah, so I love what he says here. So, also, I've heard him talk about this, he didn't talk about in this clip, that the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. And so the situation of the physical world is the particle. So right now, we're all faced in this world, and, COVID's coming to an end.
Because the media says so.
Well, yeah. And I'm bringing this up. I'm just bringing this up lightly, just a little bit. It's not to focus on. But unless you've been living on the rock, you know what's going on in Ukraine with Russia. Now, you're starting to see kickback. I don't really watch news. I keep informed about this stuff. But when we actually get into a field of peace, like I personally do it, and then I find myself into a field of collective people. The field of peace, one of collaboration, is constructive. But a field of negativity, because you can have that field too, is deconstructive. So for people out there listening, if you stay in that state of peace, you have more weight than a million people in negative, unless you get pulled into it. So we don't need 51% of people to be in this positive place in order for the war to end. It doesn't. You don't need that. You just need a small percentage.